I'd like to live in Joan's world that she described. It sounded really exciting, and the fact that I could get all my drugs through a can of Coke is really doing it for me. I'm fantasising about that. But I'd like to just start by giving you a quick backdrop of some ideas, just to set the scene, and then I'd maybe like to provoke a couple of questions at the end that I pose. So bear with me, I'll run through a few little notes I've got here. So before World War II, we really didn't have an ageing population. There weren't a lot of people still living over the age of 65. That's the first point I want to make, which is really leads to the fact that ageing is a new phenomenon, actually. This is a very modern phenomenon. We actually are not that good yet at knowing how to deal with it, because it's only a thing that we've had to deal with in our generation. So really old people really didn't make up any much part of our population. However, as I pointed out this morning, in fact now they're going to become an electoral issue. So they've gone from being, if you like, dead to being very much in control of the community. We tend to sentimentalise old people, but there's actually not much that's sentimental about getting old. I don't see too much evidence of great golden eras of wisdom and knowledge, thanks to the abundance of lots of older people around us. In fact, you could say we see a bit of the opposite. As a society, we often tend to think we should hide old people away, keep them off the streets, keep them away. And so the question is, will technology help to change this? Will it help elderly people re-engage with each other and with the wider community? So if technology does take on this wider role in communication, where will the responsibility rest? And I'm actually going to draw a lot on what John's been saying as well, because I think there's some extensions to be made there. So it seems as if robots might enter into our lives and take over in unprecedented numbers. If you could just bear with me, there is a future here that might contain a world full of robots. Already the Japanese, the South Koreans have developed child minding robots, and they provide entertaining experiences like TV and computer games. But in fact, children still need human attention, as we all know. So we don't really know what the effects of the lack of human contact might be over extended periods. And one would wonder what would happen to residents in an aged care facility if they were left in the hands of a robot caregiver in the future. And the truth is, we actually don't know what will happen to them if they're left in long-term care by robots. So the thing is, we can't ethically control and conduct, we can't control ethical research in this area to find out what the consequences are of being cared for by, long-term by a robot. And of course, we've got all these potential issues, but we haven't actually set up any policy or legislative guidelines to actually control this particular notion. There is no actual code of ethics, and that's why we actually have to have this discussion, because we need to know, should we limit the use of robots or indeed not. So I sometimes think that you know, robots being used for the care of the elderly is more about alleviating guilt that might be felt by relatives or by society or governments about the problem of caring for ageing people. And for my side, I'd like to say that I don't think my children will be in the least bit guilty leaving me in the care of an avatar. They will happily pop me there with whoever he or she is, and make that avatar shoot a few emails just checking on how mum is. They won't have a problem. We have a problem because we've known a world that didn't include robots, but I suspect our children who are so happy with technology, in fact, would have a different ethical criteria to make these decisions. So we're the custodians right now of that decision-making process, so what should our decisions be? So the first question that I have is, I guess, what is a robot? And we've had a whole day today of trying to work out, well, what is a robot? And you can see there's lots of different things or definitions or applications of what we call robotics. But the holy grail of robots is artificial intelligence, and it's kind of hard to know what you mean by artificial intelligence, but think about this, dream of the future. If we had a robot, let's call it an avatar that looks like us, it feels like us, it smells like us, it cooks and cleans, it can make decisions like us. In fact, it's been taught ethics. whose ethics, but it's been taught ethics, and it's been taught to think through logical, rational conclusions and to identify danger and to respond and so on. You have to reach a point where you say, so what's the difference between a robot and a human? And if all you can come up with is, well, a robot doesn't have a soul and we do, we could wheel in any number of philosophers and ethicists to say, well, actually, perhaps the robot does have a soul, because what's the definition of a soul? So I'm not proposing to become religious here, but there is this fine line between what we've seen today, which we see is in its infancy to some extent, doesn't look like a human or feel like a human. Some of the pets are starting to look pretty cool, but you know, they're a secondary or tertiary form of assistive technology. But if the avatar really does look and feel and smell and talk and sound and think like us, maybe it is us. So if it's a robot, is it subject to the law? If it's a robot, will it conform to policies? If it's a robot, will we have to pay it a salary? So these are the questions that I'd like to think about the future world, because there's a potential that we will have that level of artificial intelligence available when I'm 85. And strangely enough, that's not that far away. It's surprising, I know. But it's not that far away. And I don't know whether I want to sue a robot if it fails to look after me. And I don't know whether the government wants to pay robots. And what if robots can make robots? Are they robots? So I suppose I'm being less about now and more about a crazy future that we might all dream about, but which a lot of research institutes are saying is possible.